From ancient lakes that provide clues to new life forms, to weird land formations, and the world's biggest cave, here are 15 of the most mysterious places on Earth. Magnetic Hill. Have you ever seen a car roll backwards heading uphill? Well, if so, you've witnessed a gravity hill in action. That term conjures up all types of exotic ideas, including the Earth's magnetic forces becoming too powerful to contain in certain regions. Now, in fact, a gravity hill is an optical illusion, and a prime example is provided by the aptly named Magnetic Hill in the Canadian city of Moncton. The layout of the surrounding land produces an optical effect that causes a downward slope to look like a slope uphill. That results in a car left out of gear appearing to roll backwards uphill, as we mentioned. There are actually hundreds of gravity hills identified around the world, and Magnetic Hill is unique, though, in that it became an attraction to locals, and later, Magnetic Hill became a huge tourist attraction for Moncton. Now, today you have to pay a fee for the privilege of parking your car in neutral and watching it seemingly roll uphill, apparently backwards. Fairy circles. These bizarre barren patches of land have been found in Namibia, along a 1,200-mile stretch of desert between South Africa and Angola. The circles measure around 13 feet across, but have been found up to nearly 50 feet wide in the arid grasslands. Now, interesting to note that in 2014, similar types of circles also showed up in parts of Western Australia's outback as well. So, what caused these weird formations to appear in the first place? Some theories say that termites may nibble at the roots of grasses, which causes them to die. Another theory posits that the circles are created by the local plant life as the plants organize themselves to compete for scarce supplies of water. Local legends claim the circles are burn marks left by dragons or footprints of the gods, and still others claim it's all UFOs. Well, you would expect that, right? And maybe that's as good an explanation as any. Now tell us your ideas in the comments. Circe. Now, if you're familiar with Norse mythology, you know that Surtur is a fire giant who carries a blazing sword and eventually engulfs the world in flames during the events of Ragnarok. So it does seem fitting that Circe translates into Surtur's Island from the Icelandic. It was created by a volcanic eruption that occurred more than 400 feet below sea level and reached the surface by 1963. Now, the eruption that produced it did not stop until 1967. As befits the fire giant, the namesake island had an explosive birth as powerful eruptions released huge black columns of ash. The new island was formed over a few days as the explosions continued. Now, at one point, the landmass measured around 1 square mile, but since then, it has diminished to about half that size. Eternal Flame Falls. Did you know there's a small grotto at the base of a waterfall in western New York's Chestnut Ridge Park with a flame that burns continuously? The phenomenon is caused by the emission of natural gas at the location. Now, chances are you'd smell the strange golden flame before actually seeing it. And although it almost looks like an optical illusion, it really is there. Experts say the phenomenon results from a macro sweep of methane gas that escapes through a geological fault. But more often than not, a hiker passing by is more than willing to offer a light. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Now, here's a location in Pennsylvania that comes close to qualifying as a ghost town. As of 2013, Centralia was said to have a total population of 7. The town's abandonment stems from a coal seam fire that is thought to have been burning underground since at least 1962, and it continues burning even now as we speak. It's thought the blaze was started when trash was deliberately burned in a former strip mine, which ignited the coal seam there, although that account is debated, to be fair. Located some 300 feet underground, the inferno is thought to stretch more than 8 miles, and the heart of the fire is said to exceed 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Experts think that fire could burn for another 250 years. Lake Vostok. You'll find this mysterious location in the Antarctic, beneath Russia's Vostok Station in the southern pole of cold. Located more than 13,000 feet or 4,000 meters underneath the ice, the surface of the freshwater lake is actually found at that extreme depth. Lake Vostok measures 160 miles long and some 50 miles wide, while covering an area that exceeds 4,800 square miles. Its immensity aside, the lake also harbors a number of puzzles for researchers. It is thought that the lake's water could have been isolated from the world for some 25 million years. Unpolluted water samples have been collected from the lake, and Russian scientists conjecture that unusual life forms could be found there. East Scotia Ridge, Southern Ocean. The Scotia Plate is a tectonic plate located at the edge of the Southern Ocean and the South Atlantic. It's actually considered a minor plate that is controlled by the two major plates that surround it, the Antarctic Plate and the South American Plate. Experts say the ridge, located nearly 8,000 feet below the surface, is home to an array of hydrothermal vents whose temperatures can exceed some 700 degrees Fahrenheit. These Antarctic vents are dissimilar to others found. Cape Melville, Australia. Cape Melville is a headland located on Cape York Peninsula. The mysterious rainforest was located at the Melville Range, a small mountain range on the Cape, and the group of researchers comprised some of the few humans to ever set foot in that region, which can only be accessed by helicopter. Several unique species of plants and animals endemic to the Melville Range have been found so far, and those include the blotched boulder frog, the foxtail palm, and the Cape Melville leaf-tailed gecko. Bosavi Crater. Now you'll find an astonishing sight in the mountains of Papua New Guinea. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the cone of an extinct volcano began to cave in some 3,000 feet. Measuring around 3,300 feet deep and more than 13,000 feet wide, the strange structure created an isolated ecosystem, and that became home to more than 40 animal species that went undescribed. The impressive list of critters included at least 16 frogs, several spiders and insects, and a giant rat. Pamukkale. Did you know these mysterious formations comprise the most popular tourist attraction in Turkey, known as the Cotton Castle? It's located in the southwest part of the country, and the brilliant white landscape really appears like terraces and pools, but it's all the result of mineral deposits in thermal waters, which many people believe contain healing properties. Those minerals hardened over time to form those unique shapes and structures. Challenger Deep, Mariana Trench. Located in the western Pacific Ocean is the Mariana Trench, and it's recognized as the deepest area of the Earth's oceans. Shaped like a crescent-shaped scar in the crust, it measures about 1,600 miles long on average and more than 40 feet wide. Plunging to its maximum known depth, you'll find a valley in its floor with a slot-like shape on the southern end, and that is Challenger Deep. Now, speaking of deep, did you know that if Mount Everest was dropped into the water here, its peak would still be a mile underwater? Relámpago del Catatumbo. Now, there's only one place on Earth where this atmospheric phenomenon occurs, and that is over the mouth of the Catatumbo River in Venezuela. The ongoing powerful flashes of lightning occur on average up to 297 days a year, and sometimes up to 280 times per hour. Scientists think the phenomenon could be due to wind patterns and local topography. Thunderclouds could be formed by warm Caribbean winds crashing into cooler air from the Andes, and that could result in bursts of energy that could charge all the light bulbs in Latin America. Sigiriya. Rising nearly 700 feet, this huge rock column is found in Sri Lanka's central province. It's an ancient fortress and city carved out of rock, and a palace can be found at the top of the structure. The king who had Sigiriya constructed was also said to have decorated the column's sides with frescoes. This according to ancient chronicles. Many experts now consider it to be an excellent example of urban planning, even if that particular phrase wasn't used way back when. In addition to other fortifications, the citadel was also protected by a mid-level terrace and ramparts that served as defensive measures. Sima Humboldt and Sima Martel. These are enormous sinkholes that are located at a plateau of a tepui in Venezuela, which rises more than 11,000 feet high. Now, in case you're unaware, a tepui is most often described as a mesa or tabletop mountain. Known for its incredible immensity, the Sima Humboldt has some features that sets it apart from other geological openings of its ilk, including its location above the only known forested tepui. More than 1,100 feet wide at the upper rim, its depth exceeds 1,000 feet, and its volume is estimated at some 640 million cubic feet. It was discovered in 1961 along with Sima Martel, which is located about 700 meters away from the rim. In all, 4 caves are found on the mountain. Son Doong Cave, Vietnam. This cave is often considered to be the largest in the world. Experts do agree that in terms of volume, this is the largest known cave passage, extending more than 3 miles long, 660 feet high, and nearly 500 feet wide. Overall, the cave runs for more than 5.5 miles. The expansive cave contains a large subterranean river and an interior forest and its very own weather system. Did you know that a local man actually discovered the huge structure in 1991, but local people were scared away from exploring it due to the sounds of wind and rushing water that emanated from the cave mouth? And that steep descent did not exactly encourage exploration either. It wasn't until 2009 that an official survey was conducted and the cave became internationally recognized.